We'll get TK on in just a second. By the way, join us at Fieldwork Brewery in San Leandro tomorrow from 4 to 6 p.m. for the 2023 Preseason Warrior Summit. You do not want to miss it. We're talking some hoops, baby. We're talking basketball. Shasky and I will be there. Steiny and Guru will be there. Will and Dibs. Basketball. We talking basketball. And we expect you guys, the listeners, the roasters, to be there too, because it is open to the public, and people who attend will have a chance to win a signed Kevin Durant shoe from the 2018 season. Well, I don't know if you want to give out a Kevin Durant shoe around here. Somebody going to throw it in the bay, or you got to keep it. But you get to win a Kevin Durant signed shoe. How much is that worth around these parts? Do not know. It's a Kevin Durant shoe. I get it, Matt. You're looking at it. It's a Kevin Durant shoe. But I'm saying somebody may win it and be like, screw KD. I like the Warriors before Kevin Durant.
Here's my favorite part. We cleaned out all the studios. Like, hey, we've got a KD shoe from 2018.
Is it left or right? People are asking. I have no idea.
Oh, it's only one? Yeah. It's not shoes.
It didn't say shoes. It said shoe. Kevin Durant shoe, not shoes.
It's a surprise.
Man. Unbelievable. All right, be sure to come down and hang out.
What size is it?
I don't know. It's probably Kevin Durant wears a 15? Tim Kawakami.
No, it's got to be bigger than a 15.
AB in the Bay, Dylan Sag on hold. Tim Kawakami, good morning. Kawakami from The Athletic. We love TK. What size shoe is Kevin Durant? I know it's an odd way to start an interview, but what size shoe is Kevin Durant?
I guess I haven't prepped for that one. I bet you it's bigger than 15. I don't know. I've certainly been around him, but the man's a large man, so I would say maybe a little larger than 15.
I see 18 is being cited on when he was playing for the Seattle Supersonics, but that's going back to 07.
Remember,
it might be bigger.
Oh, yeah, that's right, because if he wore a size...
Do your feet shrink? Yeah, do your feet shrink over time, or they grow? I don't know. These are questions
I've shrunk.
Go to someone else here.
Yeah, I mean...
I think 17, 18 probably sounds about right, if you ask me, but... Yeah, you say that. All I do is I had my nightmare. One time I stepped on Shaquille's bare feet once, and that was not a fun moment there. He's like, "What are you doing?" Oh, sorry about that, Shaquille. Your feet are pretty large, though. It's like I'm trying to lean over to hear you. You're speaking quietly. I try to take a step forward, and I stepped on his foot. So,
wow.
There you go. That's my nightmare.
Well, I remember we made a big deal about Kevin Durant's foot a couple years ago when Milwaukee won the NBA championship because he nailed that shot.
Oh, yeah.
And it was like, if he had a size, they would have won the game, but his feet was too big. Anyway, enough about feet. Let's talk some football here, TK. TK from The Athletic, of course. Nick Bosa, we're having a Nick Bosa conversation. And the sack numbers are down, no doubt, but the quarterback hits are on par with where they were at through 6 games last year. So what's your take on Nick Bosa? Is he doing enough to live up to this massive contract?
Yeah, I mean, you're not just doing on sack numbers. Sometimes those come in, randomly, come in bunches. I cover Reggie White in his prime, and obviously, incredible amount of sacks. The guy was amazing. Sometimes it didn't happen over a 3, 4, 5 game stretch because it's where the offensive line was leaning. It's because they're throwing quick. It's because a lot of things. Are you influencing what the offense has to do? Are you on their minds? Are you always somebody that they have to worry about? They have to, lean their blocking coverage to. And I think Nick Bosa is those things. I don't think, he could be doing it more. Obviously, everyone could be doing more at any point, but I don't think there's a lot of worries about what Nick Bosa is going to do and what he's going to do throughout his career. This happens sometimes. 18 and I actually was thinking watching, Michael Parsons get shut out last night until the very end, obviously until he makes a huge sack at the very end. But he was basically shut out, and 18, he had 11 sacks last year. This is not, these are hard to get. Mm-hmm. And both, I think, at 18 and a half last year, that might be very hard to duplicate. It's just a matter of where the quarterback decides to move. It's a matter of, if he moves away from you when he's under pressure, you're not going to get it. If he moves towards you, you're going to get it. Very hard to just say, okay, go get a sack a game. That's almost impossible. You look at the numbers. That's why 18 and a half stood out so much, because these are immense numbers. It's just hard to say, go get a sack. Are you influencing the game? And I don't think anybody's got a question that Nick Bosa's influenced the game. And then when the sacks come, it might start on Monday night, might start a week later, but I think he's due for a 2-sack game, maybe a 3-sack game. maybe a forced fumble. I just don't think you can order up sacks by one specific player. It's almost impossible to do.
Yeah, heading into this year, he was averaging close to a sack a game for his entire career, which puts him in rarefied air. But, I'm looking at the CMC injury, and I think this is a big one. I mean, most people think it's a big one. It feels like when the Warriors are missing Steph Curry. Like, can you be somewhere near 500 while this guy's out? This is clearly the biggest test for Brock Purdy thus far, right?
Yeah, I mean, we'll see how long he's out. We'll see, if he's limited. I would imagine, I've kind of hinted this, I think I would keep him out of Monday night's games on turf. They only have, after this game in Minnesota, they only have one more artificial turf game. That's in Seattle on Thanksgiving. It just seems prudent, and I think they could win the game without him. Though, yeah, we'll have to see how they figure it out. And they might not have Debo either. They've won games without. Hey, they didn't have Christian McCaffrey in 2019, by the way, and they got to the Super Bowl and were leading the Super Bowl without him. They can figure out a way. I think Minnesota is a lesser team to them. They could lose that game too, but they could lose that team with Christian McCaffrey. You lose that game with Christian McCaffrey. You just never know. I think, yeah, he's so good that you want 100% or whatever you can get of Christian McCaffrey in December and January. That's when you want, and maybe even February.
Right.
And it's better to be a little bit cautious. Let him, get as healed as he can. And I think this Monday night is a smart way to do it. They've got Elijah Mitchell, who is not barely played this season. They've got some other playmakers. I think the defense can win a game for them, especially, no Justin Jefferson from Minnesota. I think we'll see what they can do without him. They've won games without him. I mean, they're way better with Christian McCaffrey, no question. And we could see it affects Shanahan's play calling, affects Brock Purdy. We could see all that tie together. But this is a team that should be built to win in a lot of different ways, not just having McCaffrey do everything for them. They can, play the power run game. They can, win on defense. I think that's kind of how Shanahan wanted to win on Sunday, right? He was pretty conservative there. And Cleveland's defense was making him be conservative, right? He did not want the 5-yard loss on first down, which is what happened several times. I think they can play power football. I think they can play defense. They can get a turnover, win a couple games here if Debo and McCaffrey aren't at their best. Because this is what good teams do. You don't have your best guys all the time. You just don't. And you build your roster to win multiple ways. I think they can do it.
Tim Kawakami, The Athletic, covers everything in the Bay Area here on the Morning Roast on 95.7 The Game. It's been in the game a long time, covering the Eagles, covering the Lakers, down in L.A., covering some boxing. TK knows it all.
Stepping on Shaq's feet.
Stepping on Shaq's feet. Yeah, that's a nice little drop there. Stepping on, just casually, hey, I stepped on Shaq's feet. But I saw TK. You were chopping up with Shaq a couple years ago when the Warriors were in the finals against Boston. I see everything, TK. TK knows all the big timers. But you had a tweet, though, that was very interesting. And I wonder, how many kicks would it take for Booty to miss for them to call a kicker, not just Robbie Gould? Because you said it, and I believe it. He's now under the microscope. You miss a 41-yarder after missing a 54-yarder. A lot of fans don't want to hear the excuses about the wins in Cleveland or whatnot. Jake Booty, it was all perfect. Whenever we don't talk about Jake Booty, it's a good thing. I kind of talk about it like referees, right? When you don't speak about the officials, that means they had a good day at the office. What would have to happen for the Niners to go out and look for another kicker or work out another kicker?
I think one more big miss, and maybe a lot of 49er fans think that was a big miss that should do it. I think they're going to wait one more game. I think they like, that he stands up. That they like, kind of his attitude. He's got to make kicks though, and it's make or miss league. And that's what I had some people saying, "Hey, it wasn't his fault, and the quarterback did play great." And they give up. Hey, listen, the kicker's only job is to make those kicks. So when it comes down to it, you either make them or you don't. It's not it doesn't matter if you make or miss league. You got to make that kick. They got to the 23-yard line. They struggled, tough conditions, whatever, but the best ones are the ones you can count on. Robbie Gould was that guy. I don't know. Listen, by the way, I don't know if Robbie Gould is still that guy.
Yeah.
Who knows? He was towards the end of last season, but it was getting a little bit more iffy. He's the guy they would call. They know him. We know with Shanahan. He goes with the people he likes and he knows, and they know Robbie Gould. They know he hasn't missed the postseason. But I think they wanted a stronger leg. I think they wanted someone who was cheaper. They think they wanted all the things. Obviously, they drafted in the top 100. I think they're a little shaky on him, though. Listen, it's not just like knee-jerk here. Your job is to make these field goals. That's it. Maybe not the 54-yarder. They would love to see him make that. Obviously, the bigger leg, that's why they drafted him. I think you excuse that one, but you got to believe the guy can make the kick at the end. Like Kyle Shanahan gets to the 23-yard line again, needing a field goal to win. He might go for it on fourth. That changes the way you think about it. You don't want that. And so I think one, not just doesn't have just to be at the end of the game. What if he misses a couple, a 37-yarder and a 48-yarder in the middle of a game that they win by 10? I think they would start to be thinking. I think maybe get to the bye week and then see where they are. But I think one more big kick would probably do it. If he makes a big kick, then that probably pushes it down the road a little bit.
In real time, did you agree with the Niners basically saying, you know what, we'll sit with the 41-yard field goal. We'll settle for the 41-yard field goal. Were you a little stunned that they didn't run the ball to try to get a few more yards to make the field goal even closer for Jake Moody?
I actually wasn't, because one, no McCaffrey. Two, you could fumble. Three, you could lose 8 yards. You could have a holding call. I just think the Browns defense was so dominant to that point. No, not on that drive, but over the length of that game. How many times did we see the 49ers lose 5 yards on a play? I think they were fearing that they were protecting against making it a 48-yard attempt. And so I understood that. Obviously, it makes sense now to try to get 8 yards. You got a timeout. But I wasn't surprised at all because of the possibility that they could give it to Elijah Mitchell and he could fumble. You did not have McCaffrey. You did not have Debo. They got down the field, no question. Purdy threw a couple nice passes. Obviously, Ayuk had the great run after catch. But I wasn't surprised, given that an 8-yard loss was not out of the question at that point. And Purdy had thrown a couple passes there that were nice, but throughout the game had struggled. There was the wet football. A little conservative. I don't disagree with people who say, hey, they could have had one more play there, get it down to the 15 and make it a much shorter field goal. Obviously, that probably would have been the right, it understandably could have worked. I see sometimes what the coach sees and goes, man, if we lose 10 yards here, then we're making it a 51-yard field goal, and then he's going to miss, right? You have to think of it that way sometimes. I think the kicker's paid to make a 41-yarder. I don't care what the weather is. The Cleveland kicker made a couple at the end. You should be able to make field goals at the end. That's why you're drafted where you're drafted. That's your job. I don't think anyone would say, oh, geez, Robbie Gould needed another 5 yards there. He would have probably made that kick. So I get what people are saying. I also think you have to understand. He's like thinking, what happens if I give it to Elijah Mitchell and he fumbles and we lose the game? Then people will be really pissed, right? I mean, your kicker should make a 41-yarder to win the game. He should. Yeah. Or then you've got to think about what you're doing at kicker. If you can't say my guy can make it for 41, then that raises a whole bunch of other questions. Now, maybe they're being raised. Maybe they've got to rethink that. I was not surprised that they went for 41. 23-yard line should be fine. It should. Shanahan usually says, like, past the 35. That's what he did with Gould. Once we get past the 35, I was pretty comfortable with Robbie. 23 is way past the 35. Shouldn't have been. At that point, you shouldn't. You draft a kicker to kick the 41-yard. You just do. You draft a kicker to kick that, and he missed it, and now they have to think about some other things if he keeps doing them.
TK, I respect what you've done in this market for so long. You were here for the glory days. I'm going to shoehorn the San Francisco Giants in here. They're on a managerial search right now, and I can't believe how far they've fallen. Like, I really cannot believe how far they've fallen. I don't know why they're retaining Farhan Zaidi. All right, we can have a philosophical conversation on that to the side. This coaching staff lost these players in the dugout. They had a bunch of people with very minimal track records and history coaching at the big league level, playing at the big league level, and they're doing these exercises, Kai Correa, Alyssa Nacken, Halliburton, all these guys that they're bringing in internally to, interview for the head coaching job, the manager job, and I'm saying none of those people are qualified. Not one of them. What are we doing? They need credibility. Like, I do not understand what the San Francisco Giants are doing. To me, would any other team in baseball interview any three of the people that they interviewed for their head manager job? It's kind of insane how they're operating right now.
Yeah, I don't want to do Nick Castellanos here. And the question is, they're interviewing in-house candidates. That's what teams do. I don't think they're hiring any of those guys. Maybe I'm wrong. They weren't going to interview those three if they weren't on their staff. I think they're going through the process. And if you ask me, they're going to end up hiring a veteran manager that maybe Giants fans are going to be very happy with. But we'll see if that manager becomes available. I would still say Bob Melvin is an option. We'll see I know the AJ Preller said he's going to be back, but you know what? Greg Johnson said that Zaidi and Kapler both will be back, and one of them didn't make it. So we'll see. I think don't overreact to the interview process. You go through a lot of names. They're probably going to interview a ton of people. They probably already have whose names you don't know. And I think they're going to end up with someone who's a veteran who's not off of that staff. That's what I think. Yeah. Maybe somebody from the staff wows them, and you don't know. But I think this is not going to be. I think the alarm bell should not be going crazy over interviews of people on staff. If they hire one of them and you don't like it, that's fine. Then the reaction is certainly valid, and we'll see. But the interview process is not the hire. That's not who they're going to hire. It's who the hire is going to who they're going to hire. And often this comes as a surprise. They interview this person, this person, this person, this person, this person, and by the way, we snuck in this other person, and that's who we hired. So I wouldn't go crazy over this. I don't think it says much overall. I just think this is what you do with in-house candidates. You do them the courtesy, you do them the respect of saying maybe the right person is here because we know this person. We go through that process, and then we talk to other people. So I wouldn't go crazy over it.
Yeah, the only thing I'm going to go crazy over, if I do go crazy about the Giants, is who are they going to sign? Who are they going to go after? What's this roster going to look like next season? Are they going to platoon every single game? Are they going to have more than 2 starting pitchers? That's when I'll go crazy, TK. But I want to squeeze a quick one in about the Golden State Warriors. The vibes apparently are good. They're connected. That's what you all hear. That's what everybody hears from Warriors training camp so far, and they've played 3 preseason games. Now, the Kuminga 3-year leap or the 3rd-year leap for Kuminga is a real thing. I think if he plays well, now we're cooking with hot grease here. Is that all that they need? What's the deal here? I guess we start with Chris Paul. I don't care about the bench stuff too much. Who starts it? To me, it's about who finishes the game. That's where we're going to have the conversation, and that's where things could get spicy if they don't win early. What's your take on this team so far through training camp, through the first 3 weeks of training camp?
Yeah, I mean, you raise a point that I actually had NBA people tell me. You guys are talking about who's starting. That's not going to be the question. The question is, if they don't play Chris Paul, down the stretch of 3 tight games, and they go 1-2, what's he say afterwards? If they pull out Clay, and I keep saying that, I don't want to be mean, but people seem to be skipping over. That's the person who I think is as likely as Kevon Looney to be pulled out of the closing group as anybody. If you really think about it, then if that happens and they lose, what does Clay think about it? Can they really do that? We'll see. I think it's going to be a mix. It's not going to be one thing or another. It's going to be matchups. It's going to be the way Kuminga's playing. He might want Kuminga closing, by the way. So how's that going to feel like? How's that going to sound like? What's going to be the locker room mood when that happens? Because we know it's going to happen a time or two. That's a big question. I don't know. I think winning solves it all, and I think their hope is just to get off to. I don't think it's going to be 18-2 like it was in last championship year.
7 of the first 9 on the road, TK. We're going to find out very early how connected they are.
Exactly, and then we'll see if it's 10-8 after 18. Then we'll see. I think they're going into it with the right thoughts. I think they're going into it feeling like they've got this, but Clay's in a contract year, possibly. We'll see if that extension gets done. Feels like it's not going to right now. Still got plenty of time. You can do it during the season. We'll see. I think this is the right way to go about it. I think this is the right pieces to go about it. And if that second unit starts clicking, then that's something else, because they've never had that. They've never had a plus second unit. This could be that, and that solves a lot of things. And then listen, if Chris Paul doesn't close a few games and they win, and if it's Clay doesn't close a couple games and they win, and then it's Looney, and then it's whoever, it's not going to be 30, but could be a rotation of other people. I think they're okay as long as it's moving towards something. And if it's not working, if things are fraying a little bit, which is certainly we've seen that. If they're 18-16, and nothing feels
Would it surprise you if they move Chris Paul before the deadline? Then
no,
if they're struggling,
kind of leading into that one. Yeah, that's the piece that they've kind of been open about. Maybe it's been behind the scenes. Like, listen, they don't know. It's money that they can move. I don't know who's going to be available. I don't know if that person is going to be better. But that's the one I'd look at that could look if they don't sign Clay, then they could bring back Chris Paul. If they do sign Clay, you have to look at that money saying, if they're going to get under that second apron, it's going to be hard to do it with both of them at big contracts. So kind of look at that one. Maybe that's part of the Clay delay is they want to see how the Chris Paul thing works. Just kind of keep an eye on that one. Listen, Joe Lacob has said, I'm going to be under, and then sign guys and gone way over. This happens all the time. But if they're going by that, if they're going to do it, and they re-sign Clay, then I'd look at that Chris Paul contract for sure.
Joe Lacob live in studio tomorrow, 8:30. He'll be on the roast. If you want to send us some questions that you want us to ask Joe Lacob, TK, feel free. Send them to him through your podcast.
I think I could get Joe myself.
Yeah, I know. We know that. You get Joe a lot more than we get Joe. Jeez, you get Joe 5 times a year. You get Bob Myers, John Lynch. You're the man, TK. We know
I'm always available, TK, if you ever need anything.
Joe Lacob, Joe Shasky, Bonte Hill. I don't think we're sniffing that podcast. That will be my mama I made it moment if I ever hit the TK podcast. All right, Tim Kawakami.
Please, no, that's to be the. Oh, wait a minute. What am I doing on this stupid show?
Yeah, how did I book these guests? Jeez, I'm losing here. All right, TK. Have a good one, man. Keep up the good work.
All good. Appreciate it, guys.
All right.